Michael Hine.
Tour start. 1929. Good morning.
And it is golf Wednesday.
It is Golf Wednesday.
So you get some tickets for on golf. You get like indoor golf in the winter.
Indoor golf in the winter. You can make a tee time. 331-233.
And I'm sure you have a great golf trivia question for the books and a brand new series. And Kevin, good morning. Thanks for coming in again.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So the weather was okay this morning. We didn't have any ice, no problems to worry about. It is indeed. We're looking forward to it. You're local from Woodstock, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get involved in Little League and this great series of books, Kat?
Well, it all started out having kids, and they all knew they were learning these kids, and everybody looking at each other going, "Who's in charge?" And with most organizations, there's a little bit of organization to get some sign-ups going and get everybody there. So how we do it. I had time and energy to dedicate to it, and it was a lot of fun for myself. So the book's kind of evolved out of frustration that we did, because it was a little bit about, gosh, how do these kids just show up, any places baseball, they don't watch it on TV, or they don't have the parent time to do it. That's how it is.
And getting back to the outside and the Little League and the baseball, how important it is. Really important for kids to be part of this at a young age.
It's hard for them to step up. It's hard for them to step into a new environment that they're not familiar with. So our books are also educational for the parents. We got this great anamorphic baseball in the corner called Billy Ball, and he kind of gives these little tidbits and tips about what the coach is doing and why he's doing it, and it helps the parents get a little insight about what's happening and why it's happening, so they can go out in the backyard and carry on what the coach is already teaching. Down 375, but you can't even walk it now because the highway doesn't pay for the shoulder. But I used to walk through the woods over to the neighbor's house, and we'd come home at dark, and our parents, either they never cared where we were, or they were just comfortable that we were going to be okay. We kind of had a motto that said, step up and join us. Don't just sit on the other fence and talk about it. So when you become president of the league, not that it's a dictatorship, but you tend to surround yourself with a board with common goals. You run an organization, and if people like it, they flock to it. And when you have a winning philosophy and things are working and things, in my eyes, are kind of more on that normal old-fashioned playing field, we did education. We let the parents know what was acceptable and what wasn't acceptable. And we hung banners that said, you're not allowed to argue with the calls. If you'd like to yell across this fence, come on over, sign the volunteer application and voice your opinion. Join the board. Help us. If there's something that you're not happy with, join the board. And we actually put those banners right in front of the bleachers. So when parents did decide to start yelling and screaming, some of the other parents would say, hey, did you see this banner over here? And actually some of the other parents kind of jumped up and helped the mission of the whole thing. Other scenarios where I've been at games that wasn't necessarily a team I was coaching, maybe an all-star game, and you're having out-of-town teams come in, and not necessarily that city teams are more aggressive, but the city environment is a little more win-win-win than some of the country teams are. And when there's issues on the field and a parent is yelling at a teenage umpire who happens to be working a part-time job and learning part of the growing up phase of his life, I just stop it. As the administrator, I'm ultimately responsible. Embarrassing him because he knew I was absolutely right, and he was very angry with me, and I apologized to him after and said I was wrong and I'd never do that again. But really, it's all about stepping up. Yeah, that's true. You know, an important thing also for the success of a program. I loved it. There used to be something called SUNY Youth Sports. State University of New York ran a coaching program funded by New York State. They traveled anywhere in New York State. They had offices all over. They would come to your town of Little League coaches. You get 10, 12, 15 people in a room. You could merge a couple towns. And they would actually teach you coaching strategies and techniques. And the first time we hosted them, they were there and it was all child psychology. It wasn't how do you teach batting or hitting. It was how do you coach kids. It didn't really matter what the sport was. And New York State actually defunded that program, which was pretty sad because when you grow up as a parent, like you said, you don't know how to coach. So there's a couple organizations out there. There's another spectacular one out of Florida, but they're a national youth organization for sports that coaches parents how to be a coach, and they're absolutely they're important. TGIT, thank goodness it's T-ball day, is it's kind of a play on the lettering of T, the letter T. It's also a play on when I host T-ball, it's always on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Everybody can remember when it is. Kind of adds to the education of things. Those are also the best days of my schedule to make it happen. But you can't play a baseball game until you learn some of the basic skills. And that's one of the things with this book series that I wanted to stay true and not have a little kid show up his very first day and hit a home run and win the game when he's never played. So book 1 was his first day. Book 2 was learning all about Magic Bat Day and batting. Book 3, here we are. You have to learn how to throw. You have to learn how to hit, you have to learn how to catch, and you have to learn how to throw before you can actually start playing real baseball. So this sequence of books with the letter T, TGIT, teaches kids how to stand with their arms out at their sides and rock side to side and point with their glove and keep their arms straight and throw the ball over the top. And it's a couple little bit of those teaching techniques that you can't explain it, you gotta see it. That's great. I get asked that a lot. On our website, I write it on our blog a lot. We've got a couple good articles in magazines and things. You have to make sacrifices. You have to think ahead. You have to plan. There's all those unexpected things that you never put in your schedule, like drive time, like coming home and taking off the muddy cleats, and where do you go, and it takes another 15 minutes once you get in the door. Unpacking backpacks and getting the books out takes another 5 or 10 minutes, and finding a pencil, and someone's in the kitchen trying to cook and the kids are wandering around and the TV's on in the other room. It's sometimes cooking a double dinner one night, and maybe the next night you just have to take it out and microwave it. Cooking extra chicken cutlets so you got enough leftovers for the following night. Planning some dinners ahead. Sometimes I even suggest for families to like you carpool, have a dinner night together. So what if it's Wednesday night? Littler kids are having dinner at an earlier hour. You're getting out after school. You're trying to squeeze in a little bit of homework. And granted, these are smaller kids. Their homework isn't 2 hours long of chemistry homework or anything like that, but it also requires more parental guidance because you're sitting there and helping them with some of the basic math and writing or reading and things. So my suggestions are just really to keep a tight schedule. Get out a piece of paper and write it down. Try to stick to it and maybe evaluate yourself and see where you're missing your timing. Why didn't we get home till 6 o'clock?
Yeah, well, kind of this book series starting out, I was fortunate enough to gain some help from Florida, and they have made some connections for me. We are now negotiating a possible Major League Baseball player for all Major League kids across the country that has always wanted to be one of those books. He's looking at future signing deals. He wants to, and with his interest, ironically, a couple of the players have also taken notice, and it was quite exciting to see the books progressing.
So is this kind of taken off, I was gonna say, beyond your wildest dreams?
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
It's pretty close.
.com. We're also in all the Barnes and Noble. If you can't find them on the shelf, you can ask the manager to order them for you. We're in Amazon. We're in most of the local bookstores. We're always in the Golden Notebook in Woodstock, in my hometown. We're across all the social media, and typically we're always looking for more hashtag hometown fans for anybody that would even like to post their kid's Little League picture or a fun story. Sure, love to do it. We're currently also hitting some elementary schools. We attended a Renegades game last year, and ironically, we found a ton of school teachers in the audience, and they're all calling and booking appointments to come in and see their classes and read to the kids. And some of the older kids were actually, I run a little, I call it Bats and Books and Balls, but we're actually making books, and what we're doing is creating stories in class and giving every kid a page to write and actually publishing it through self-publishing and coming back with books that are bound and kind of saving that in their own libraries. I have. Yep. They're all lined up. Everybody's scurrying and trying to find out how many people are signing up. Kids, or should I say, the kids don't do the signing up, it's the parents. So we're constantly seeking and trying to get the information to the parents and say, we know there's snow on the ground, but now's the time you have to sign up for baseball. I could do this public service announcement for every town, no matter where you live. It takes time to figure out how many kids you have, to divvy up the teams, to have an evaluation, or they don't even like to call it tryout now because they don't want any kid to think that he's not going to make the team, so they call them evaluations of the next generation here. But they like to, make the teams a little bit fair, break them up, address which parents need to commute together because of work schedules, and these two kids live next to each other, but they drive a half hour, and work out all those logistics, and then order uniforms that actually fit the kids and have them there by opening day. You can't just sign up the day before opening day and expect to have a uniform and to know what team the kid's going to be on. So parents out there, please, if you don't know where your Little League is, call your local town office. They all know all the connections. Yeah, Little League in general is a brand name. It's kind of like Kleenex being a tissue. But whether it's a Babe Ruth, whether it's a Cal Ripken, whether it's a Little League, or whether it's just called XYZ Town Baseball, it still requires sign-ups. It still has volunteers trying to help to make it happen. And you, as a parent, can have a better season with your kid if you sign up early. www.thehometownallstars.com. Thanks for having me. Okay. Thanks, Dan.